The waxwork figures stood apathetically in their places, waiting to be admired or execrated by the crowds which would presently wander fearfully among them. In their midst, in the centre gangway, Raymond Hewson sat still. And although there was not a scratch upon his throat, nor anywhere else on his body, he was cold and dead. You must understand that we have nothing to gain from letting people spend the night in our murderer's den, and we certainly have something to lose from it. However, with your being a journalist, the case is altered somewhat.
Here you do have something to gain from it.
Publicity and advertisement.
Exactly. And there I thought we might come to terms.
Ah, I see what's coming. You want to be paid twice, do you? Very well, Mr. Hewson. Get your story printed in... what did you say your paper was, by the way?
I'm freelancing at the moment, working for several papers, but I believe I shall have no difficulty printing the story. The Morning Echo would snap it up like a shot. A night with Mariner's murderers. No live paper could turn it down.
Right. Well, you get your story printed in the Morning Echo, and there will be a cheque for £5 waiting for you here when you care to call for it.
If I write the story well, the paper will pay me well enough.
But it's no small ordeal that you're proposing to undertake. You'd better be quite sure of yourself. I'd like to be quite sure of you. One of the main reasons we're unwilling to let people spend the night with our collection is that, people are unstable, and it can get quite airy down there. If I did allow it and some young idiot lost his senses, what would be my position?
Oh, I don't think your waxworks will worry me much.
You're not superstitious?
Not really, no.
But surely you must have a strong imagination.
Editors I've worked with have always complained that I haven't any. Papers don't like offering their readers unbuttered bread. Plain facts are not considered sufficient in our trade. Are you superstitious?
Well, not really. I don't believe in ghosts. If I did, I should expect them to haunt the scenes of their crimes, or the graves they were buried in, not the cellar which just happens to contain their waxwork effigies. They just always manage to make me nervous when I'm alone with them. After all, these ones do represent the lowest and most appalling types of humanity. The whole atmosphere of the place is unpleasant, and I warn you, if you're susceptible to atmosphere, you're in for a very uncomfortable night.
I have already promised myself an uncomfortable night. I've seen the murderer's den. It is hardly fitted up as a hotel bedroom.
Well, if you're ready, we'll make a move. Yes. All right, thank you. I'm afraid that an armchair is the best we can do for you tonight down in the den at such short notice.
That's all right.
One condition I must impose on you, however. I must ask you not to smoke. We had a fire scare down there this afternoon. It was a false one, and we're not very sure who gave the alarm. There were very few people down there at the time, which was lucky, else someone might have been hurt. They're all dead, of course. I expect to recognize him. Insignificant little beast. Looks like he couldn't tread on a worm. That's Armstrong. Looks a decent, harmless country gentleman, doesn't he? There's old Vaquier. Can't miss him because of his beard.
Who's that?
Oh, I was just coming to him. This is our star turn. Come and have a good look at him. He's the only one of the bunch that hasn't been hanged.
Well, who is he?
That is Dr. Bourdette.
I think I've heard the name.
Well, that's not surprising. For some long time, that man was the terror of Paris. As a doctor, he carried on his work of healing by day and of throat-cutting by night. He killed for the sheer devilish pleasure it gave him to do so, and always in the same way, with a razor. Well, after his last crime, he left a clue behind him that set the police on his trail, and they had enough evidence to send him to the guillotine on a dozen capital charges. And after that, he just disappeared.
I don't like him at all. Those eyes.
Yes, you find they bite into you.
Yeah.
Bourdette practiced mesmerism, you see. He was supposed to mesmerize his victims before dispatching them. Indeed, had he not done so, it's impossible to see how so small a man could have done his ghastly work. There were never any signs of a struggle.
I thought I saw him move.
Ah, well, your mind has started already. You'll have more than one optical illusion before the night's out, I expect. You shan't be locked in, so you can come upstairs when you've had enough. There are watchmen on the premises, so you'll find company. Don't be alarmed if you hear them moving about. I think you'd better return to my office for a tot of whiskey before you start.
Where do you want it, sir? Just here, so you can have a chat with Crippen when you're tired of sitting still. Oh, there's old Mother Dyer, making noise. Looks as though she could use the company tonight.
I'll place it myself, thanks.
All right. How much are you getting paid for this?
Well, the story I'm writing should get plenty.
Oh, you're a writer.
A journalist.
Well, good night. Here, don't let him sneak up behind you and touch your neck with her cold, clammy hands. And you look out for that Mrs. Dyer. I believe she's taking a fancy to you.
The dim, unwavering light fell on the rows of figures which were so uncannily like human beings that the silence and the stillness seemed unnatural, even ghastly. I missed the sound of breathing, the rustle of clothes, the 101 minute noises that one hears when even the deepest silence falls upon a crowd. But the air was as stagnant as water at the bottom of a standing pond. There was not a breath in the chamber to stir a curtain, nor rustle a hanging drapery, start a shadow. All was still to the gaze and silent to the ear. This made me realize the night would be longer than I had first anticipated. That's ridiculous. He's only a waxwork. Like the rest of you, you're all only waxworks. But waxworks don't move. In that moment I turned just now, they all moved, I'm sure. Crippen. I was turned to the left a bit. And Field and Gray, too. One of them has moved his hands.
It wasn't I.
Of course it wasn't him, or any of the others. Just my nerves. Or was it? Hasn't Crippen moved again? You can't trust that little man. Once your attention is directed elsewhere, he takes the advantage to shift position.
It's what they're all doing.
Well, that's it.
I've had it. I'm going.
I'm not about to spend the night with a bunch of dressed-up dummies who move when they're not being watched. Well, then why not go? I've already experienced more than enough to write my story. The Morning Echo would be none the wiser as to how long I'd stayed. They wouldn't care as long as the story is a good one. So, it's just the Watchman. This is too much, isn't it? Bad enough that these mannequins should be moving about when I'm not looking. Do they have to breathe as well? Someone is breathing. This is ridiculous. They're made of wax and sawdust. They don't move, and they certainly don't breathe.
You moved. Damn you, yes you did, I saw you.
Good evening.
Forgive me, for I am a little stiff. Let me explain. I was close to this building this evening when I saw a policeman regarding me far too curiously. So I mingled with the crowd and came in here. A spark of inspiration showed me a certain means of escape. I raised a cry of fire. And when all the fools rushed to the stairs, I stripped my effigy of the coat you now behold me wearing, donned it, hid my effigy, and took his place on the stand. I own that since I have spent a very fatiguing evening. But luckily I was not always being watched, so I had the opportunity to ease the rigidity of my post and take a deep breath occasionally. One small boy cried out and exclaimed that he saw me move. I understood that he was to be whipped and sent straight to bed on his return home.
I don't believe in ghosts. If I did, I should expect them to haunt
The manager's description of me was biased, but not altogether inaccurate. Clearly, I am not dead.
Your mind has started already.
His account of my hobby was in the main true, but not so intelligently expressed. Simply, I collect throats. The only one of the bunch that hasn't been hanged. This is a little French razor.
Oh, you're a writer, are you?
A night with Mariner's murderers.
The blade, you will observe, is very narrow.
Mighty nice.
They do not cut deep. No.
These ones do represent the lowest and most appalling types of humanity.
I shall ask you the little civil question of all polite barbers. Does the razor suit you, sir?
Baudet practiced mesmerism, you see.
Oh, I don't think your waxworks will worry me much.
You will have the goodness to raise your chin a little.
There were never any signs of a struggle.
Yeah, don't let him sneak up behind you and touch your neck with her cold clammy hands.
Merci, monsieur. Merci.
In their midst, in the center gangway, Raymond Hewson sat still. Although there was not a scratch upon his throat, nor anywhere else on his body, he was cold and dead. Dr. Baudet, on his pedestal, watched the dead man unemotionally. He did not move, nor was he capable of motion. He was, after all, only a waxwork. Hewson's previous employers were wrong in having him credited with no imagination.